Hi guys, in this video I wanted to have a go at making a Buzz Lightyear cake topper. I'm really looking forward to the new film coming out later this year. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a oval of modelling paste and cut it in half. These are going to be the feet. I've rolled a thin piece of green and we're just going to try and put it on the end of each foot. And let's cut off all the extra from around the bottom. And don't worry if it's a bit short because we're going to cover it with a strip of purple. So again, this is just modelling paste. I've rolled it quite thin, cut a thin strip, and we're going to wrap it all the way around. And of course you can cut it with a knife, you don't have to just pinch it with your fingers like I have done. We're going to do the same on both and then just put in some little imprints at the side. So it looks like he's got treads under his feet. Then let's start building him up for the legs. So again, it's just a small ball. We've cut it in half in grey, modelling paste again. And then let's work on the legs. So white modelling paste. Now I've rolled it so it's a little bit thicker at one end, thinner at the other. Now the thick end is going to be the bottom. So I'm trying to cut like a V at the bottom for the shape of his trousers. And it's going to sit on top of our grey ball. So give it a little bit of a push around. And I've just cut it a little bit shorter because it's going to end at the knee. So can you see we've still got that fat bit at the bottom and we've just cut it off at where we want his knee to go. If it helps, print yourself off a little picture that you can use as a template. Then the next bit is just a little grey ball, again modelling paste. I've squashed it down a little bit just to get it to attach firmly. And I am going to put a skewer in each leg just to make sure that he stands up steady. Just careful that you don't squash the legs when you're pushing this through. And again, we've just rolled another piece of modelling paste. Now the modelling paste I'm actually using in this video is called Leped, and I'll put links below in the description box. The Leped takes a bit of getting used to because when you've got hot hands it's very soft, but when it's cold it sets pretty firm. And because it sets quite firm, it's going to give me plenty of strength in these legs. So can you see we've just slotted the top part of the leg on the stick and we've put an oval of paste over the knee joint. And we've just flattened it down a bit and then we're going to put a line up and down the leg at the front. For like his bum, again we've got a bit of a ball, we've cut the top off and then we've kind of pressed in slightly at the bottom either side where the legs will attach. That's just a little bit chunky, so we've cut a bit off the back. Let's slide it onto those skewers. So you see it's moving around a little bit while I try and get it in position. If it helps, let it firm up before you move on to the next bit. You can leave it a couple of hours. And then let's make his middle. So still using modelling paste. I've got some black. I've rolled like a little tube of it, or slightly more oval than rounded. And we're just putting some lines in, quite deep, and let's cut that off. So that's going to be the middle section of him. Let's push that onto the skewers. Now I've cut one of the skewers down a little bit so it doesn't come out too far. I did turn off the video camera and not realise that when I added the green around the bottom of his legs and his belt, I had turned it off. So I do apologise, it's just strips of green with a circle on either side. Now his body is quite big and quite chunky. If you do want to reduce it in size a little bit to take off some of the weight, that's okay. But he does have quite a big torso. So it's almost like a rectangle that we started with and then we narrowed it down a little bit. We're just threading it onto the skewer. Okay, just make sure it looks like it's just coming down over the top of the black in the middle section. And then we're going to cut some strips of purple. And we're going to bring them from the front, curving it round to the back. Roll a piece of green. Not too thick, and we're going to stick it onto the front, but don't press it down too hard because we're going to cut a little bit off the bottom. So I've pressed it on up over the shoulders and then we're going to mark our lines for where we want it to come. So I'll line down the middle and then we're going to cut like the chest. So kind of sloping from the armpit down and then across under the chest. I think I've gone slightly lopsided, so one of his chest pieces is a little bit bigger than the other. And let's just press in. I'm just using the edge of the knife blade, but if you prefer, you can use your Dresden tool. Let's make a little sort of hollow area where we want his little buttons to go. Now, apologies, I've got the camera quite close to this, which I hadn't realised when I was filming. So I've got a piece of grey. It's quite thick. It's just a strip, and we're kind of putting it around the top of the body. So this should smarten up all this top area. Then inside it, we're going to put a piece of purple that just fills to the edges, like that. Let's just cut a little bit extra off the shoulders where my green's gone a little bit far over. And also we're going to add a little disc of grey. Give it a good push on. We want that to stay on nice and tight. Same on the other side. And he has like another disc just inside, but it's not a full disc, so we'll cut one circle smaller, cut it in half, so we've got semicircles, and just place that on top of that. Then another circle, same size, so the smaller one, just on the inside. And then the small disc, again, of purple on the outside. I've started with like a kind of oval shape of purple that we're going to stick in the top. It's going to be about the size of his head, slightly bigger. Then we're actually going to make a face to stick on the front. So you want like a pale flesh tone. And it's almost like the shape of a potato. Slightly bigger on his chin than on his forehead. And we're going to put in the eye sockets with a bit of a balling tool. And he's got one eyebrow raised, so we'll lift one a little bit more than the other. Then let's see if we can just carefully push in a nose. So we're pushing together the bridge of the nose and then working underneath the nose. It's just getting a little bit of a mouth. So we're going in with the knife. Just open it up a little bit. Let's go into the corners with my Dresden tool so it's nice and pointy. Let's lift up the top lip just a little bit. And let's smooth off the bottom. So I'm going a little bit deeper now with the balling tool for each eye. And then I'm going to put a ball of white in each one. I don't mind if these stick out a little bit. Then we're going to fill the mouth with white. And that's maybe just a little bit far back, so let's put another piece in over the top. Oh, apologies that it's a little bit blurry. Let's just try and push this around so it kind of goes from one side of the mouth to the other. Then I've just pushed the bottom lip up a little bit and just going around the edge with sort of a rubber-ended modelling tool. And let's see if we can put a line in between the top and bottom set of teeth just with my knife. Now his chin doesn't quite stick out enough, so what I'm doing is pushing into the back of the face just to pull it out a bit. And then we just got a tiny piece of flesh colour that's going to go on the top of each of those eyeballs for his eyelids. And that was a circle that I used that I just cut off the very top curve for and used that as the eyelid. So the purple that we made earlier for the head, we're just taking a small slice off the front. So we've got a flat area to push the face onto. And I'm just going to put another skewer or even a kebab stick just into the top of his body so we can push that on there. Then he just wants a little ball of purple on either side about where his ears would be. Let's give him some rosy cheeks. So I've just got an edible pink dust. Keep your brush dry when you're adding this. Okay, so eyebrows. Just a little piece of brown in each eyebrow and you're going to curve it around. Again, if it's easier, look at a picture so you can work out the positioning you want those eyebrows to be in. Eyes. Let's go for a little ball of blue in each eye. I'm going to squash it down once it's on the eye with my modelling tool. Then the black pupil in the middle, I've just kind of painted. But if you prefer, you can stick that in with a piece of black modelling paste if you can get it small enough. Let's just go over the very edge of the eyelids just with a tiny bit of black food colour in. And let's give him a little dot of white in each eye. Now I have actually gone around, can you see the outside of the iris in a darker blue? So I've just carefully painted that on there. And just really carefully with quite diluted brown or black, because we don't want it to be too strong. With a really thin brush, we're going to put like a little spiral on for his chin. I've maybe gone a little bit too dark there. And then let's finish this chest piece. So let's put a little ball of red in there for his main button. And a little thin oval of red again across there. We're going to do the same again, but in blue. I've missed one out in the middle, so we want one for the middle in green. I've tried to roll the white nice and thin. And then once it's on in place, I'm going to cut the shape a little bit more. Slightly triangular at the bottom. And I'm going to try and paint. Although thinking about it, probably would have been better if I had just used an edible printer for this little bit. Printed the logo and stuck it on. But I'm just using just food colouring, just diluted with a little bit of water. And just quickly painting that on there. You can spend a bit more time on it than I have done. Writing is definitely not a strong point of mine. A little tab of yellow across there. And now the arms, they kind of joint together similar to the legs. So we've got like some big balls of grey modelling paste. We're just going to cut a little bit off each one so that it sits flat against the shoulders. And the arms are kind of rounded at the top. And can you see they get a little bit wider as they come down? We're just cutting the bottom straight. And another ball of grey on the end of there. This time it's a full ball that we've just kind of squished on. Do the same on the other one as well. That's actually the bottom section of my arm. So then the ball is the elbow joint. So then the top is, it's not very big, it's quite short, more like a cylinder shape. And we're going to push it on, and I'm pushing it slightly over the grey ball. Now my paste is dried and cracked just a little bit, so it's a little bit untidy at the edges. Then his hands, we're going to keep them quite straight, so all his fingers are kind of the same size on this one. So you see it's curved at one end, straight at the other. So we've just cut in some fingers, and then we're just going to bend them. And these hands are going to sit on his hips. And then let's do another little ball just on top of each hand, this time in white. Now the arms didn't want to stay on their own, so we've put in a bit of a cocktail stick. So I wouldn't advise eating this one. This one I'd maybe just have for show. So make sure you've pushed that on nice and tight. Now I've actually just put a little teardrop of white just above his wrist, and then a little panel of white just below the shoulder. And I've used a piping nozzle to press in a circle on the shoulder and at the elbow joint. And then we're going to wrap a little bit of green just around the top of his arms. And let's put a little bit on the hand, so it's more like a little rectangle that just sits on the top of his hand. And another one in purple. Just above the other wrist, we've got a little piece of red. And then on the shoulder, or just below the shoulder, a circle of red that we're just going to squeeze on there. Again, we've put the holes in the shoulder and the elbow joint. I'm just going to add a bit of pale blue to his badge because I realise it's not actually white, but it is pale blue. Okay, so we've got that on there. So there's Buzz Lightyear all finished. Apologies that the video was a little bit blurry and I managed to get it out of shot in some parts. I hope you've managed to learn something from it still. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and more.